Hi everyone. My name's Haley, and today I'm going to talk about an issue that I feel like is pretty common today. It's the issue of phone availability and what it means when we do or don't answer our phones, for the person that we're in a relationship with or even a friend. So, first I'm going to talk about a personal example, and then I'm going to apply deontic logic, constitutive rules, and regulative rules to my situation, and that'll help us unpack the meaning behind it and how we can fix the issue when there's a disconnect. So, my situation is that I have always kept my phone on silent. Ever since I first had a phone, I don't like the sound of it. I feel like I have to immediately respond, and it kind of triggers my anxiety in a way if I'm just constantly hearing the ding of my phone over and over and over again. So what I do is I leave my phone on silent, and then, I look at it pretty often still, even though it's on silent. And when I do, then I respond to text messages. And if I see that I have missed calls, then I call people back. But I will say that it's been an ongoing issue that people say that I don't answer my phone just because, half the time I'm not seeing it. And then honestly, if they do call me, a lot of times I just text them back because it's easier and usually I'm doing something. So this ended up being an issue in relationships specifically because my boyfriend, he always answers my calls because he keeps his phone on loud. But a lot of the times when he tries to call me, I don't answer. Or, like he texts me after, and then like 20 minutes later, 15 minutes later, then I finally text back. Um, this can be, it's a deeper conflict about what it means to each of us, like the fact that I don't answer, like to him. Um, Answering the phone means that I care about him and that I'm doing my part in the relationship. And the fact that he always answers his phone means he does that for me and he feels like it's not being returned. It hurts his feelings, which I totally understand because I honestly, I'd probably be upset if he didn't answer his phone. So it makes sense. But it's also just kind of, again, like a sensory thing for me. And I always get back to him as soon as I can. So it's interesting. But, it's actually a very common issue in relationships just because technology, people having to constantly be available now that we have phones at our fingertips. In a study published by the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships, researchers found that technology has created new expectations for constant accessibility, and that failure to meet these expectations often leads to hurt feelings and rejections or neglect. Another study by Turkle in 2015 in her book Reclaiming Conversation explains that we've developed what she calls a crisis of presence. We're so used to always being connected that being unreachable, even briefly, can feel like a personal slight. She writes that constant connection is often mistaken for real intimacy, and that absence of connection can make people anxious or insecure, which is completely understandable. But if you think about it, like, generations before us, they went all day long. Like when you went to work, you didn't have to text back. There was no texting back. So if someone's not going to call you at work, that's unprofessional. Like maybe once, or if you were in an office, but I'm a waitress, so that would be weird if you were to be calling me at work if it was like back in the 70s. Um, so this is definitely a newer issue, just being constantly available. But from a deontic logic point of view, what we ought to do, he thinks that we ought to both be constantly answering each other's phone calls as much as possible. And I think that, I ought to have my space and be able to have my sanity by not hearing a ding all the time. Um, as far as that issue, we obviously have a different moral idea of what is right and what is wrong in a relationship. When it comes to constitutive rules, you know, it to him, when I'm not answering, it means that I'm rejecting him or I'm purposely ignoring him. But to me, it just means that I'm doing what I need to do right now, and I'm going to grab my phone and make sure I check it and give him a text back or give him a call back when I can. As far as the regulative rules, obviously he thinks it's normal and acceptable for someone's phone to be on loud. And for me, I think it's normal and acceptable for someone's phone to always be on silent. But understanding this helps us realize why we have different opinions of the same behavior. And it also helps us fix the disconnect, right? So because we understand that we have differing like perceptions and regulative and constitutive rules in the like on this subject, that means that we can adjust. Like now I know to put my phone at least on vibrate. So I'm not hearing the ding, but I could still know when he texts me and make sure that I get back to him so that he's not, wondering if I'm safe or if I'm okay, or just if he has a burning question, I can get back to him in a more timely manner. Um, okay, so having said that, my discussion question is, do you think technology has changed our regulative rules for what counts as being available or caring in relationships? Thanks, guys.